what do you think of when you think of Africa? Like, I know you've heard good stories of what people are doing on the continent, but what do you think of when you think of Africa? Young people?
Left behind all the time.
Left behind all the time? Poverty. So I'm here because I won a lottery at Bet. And the lottery I won at Bet was that my dad, who was a banker, was transferred by his bank to work in England. And he took his wife and 2 kids, and they went to England, and his wife got pregnant again, and she had a baby. And then 18 months later, he was back in Nigeria and had more kids. And that one child got a British passport when the others got a Nigerian passport. Why is that important? I was supposed to come to this conference with 9 developers from Africa. All 9 got rejected visas. We don't see the world, we don't experience the world. And it shapes, and a lot of things, and a lot of it is shaped by what you see in the media. And it affects how people see us and see our continent. So this is an article in the Financial Times in December 2023. The world's economy's biggest problem is Africa. Like, think about it again in context. And think about every media story you've heard about my continent. And just as you're hearing it and it's shaping your mindset about the continent and the people in it, it's also shaping the mindset of the people in the continent about themselves. And so, I mean, this graph is the Human Development Index, which measures parts of the world based on poverty, people's well-being, education, the works. Poorest countries in the world are in my part of the world. But there are lots of other graphs I can show you. If I show you the graphs of passports and visas, it's most likely going to be like this. You're born in a part of the world, not something that you did. That's why I call my instance lottery. I had 0 agency in determining where I was born. But life trajectory is determined by that. And so, most of us, when we think about Africa, we think about Africa and Africans as receivers. And Africans themselves start thinking about themselves as receivers. I'm a Christian. In the Bible, it says the hand of the receiver has always been it. God loves a cheerful giver. The hand of the receiver has always been it. Right? And it's kind of the situation in the world in most areas, in the way the world is structured. Your country is rich, you donate to the poor Africans. You're doing good financially, you donate to the poor Africans. Someone says, work on this project, you think, how can I help? And suddenly we're the ones that are always receiving. 2 years ago, I got into Bitcoin. And I strongly believe, I believe this firmly, just as we believe Bitcoin is resetting the global economic system, I believe Bitcoin is resetting Africa's place in that globe and in the way the world sees Africa. And I think it's something that people in Bitcoin need to consciously think of, because you might not know when you act on those biases. But for us Africans who are in Bitcoin, and for the rest of Africans that we're trying to bring into this new economy that I believe is a reset, the goal that we're working towards for us is, how do we help every African, maybe not just Africans, how do we enable abundance and financial freedom for people in the forgotten regions of the world? And there are plenty of people in those forgotten regions. When a critical mass of people who are thinking about and strategizing for how Bitcoin evolves are from the West, they're most likely going to think and make decisions based on a paradigm that excludes parts of the world who live in a complete different reality. And that's what we want to change. I don't think everybody should be poor, we should take from one and give others. I think we can enable abundance for everybody. We can give everybody the same level of comfort. That means they will not want to force themselves into your country or travel and not go back. And this whole thing about freedom of movement and freedom to see the world becomes something that anybody and any child can enjoy, not based on the lottery of where they were born. our goal and what we've been doing, and I work with Btrust Builders. We train software engineers, and Abubakar spoke earlier, he's one of our board members. We train software engineers across Africa and get them into building on and building for Bitcoin. But broader, and as a part of the African Bitcoin ecosystem, and Farida again spoke earlier, our goal is to change this narrative. That we as people are not the people that you should give charity to, but we can be net givers. And in the context of Bitcoin, we're not in this space for you to help us. We believe actually Bitcoin benefits when Africans give to Bitcoin. And part of things I'm going to talk to you today about are the areas where I see that we are looking and we're already starting to give this ecosystem. And so that's a central question that drives my work, that drives the work that a lot of us do. What does Africa bring to Bitcoin? How does Africa strengthen Bitcoin? I think all the problems we have in Africa are problems only if we see them as problems. I don't know if you've heard the story of the two salesmen who went to a village to assess, two shoe salesmen, and one went in and said, the people there don't wear shoes, so there's no market for us. And the other one said, people there don't wear shoes, so there's a lot of market for us. So the problems we have in Africa, in healthcare, in education, in governance, for me, all the seeds of solutions that we can actually use to show the utility of what Bitcoin can do for the world. When you hear people like Jimmy Dimon saying, I don't know anyone that uses Bitcoin, or Bitcoin is only used by drug dealers and money launderers, we have the use cases that show what the power of this currency is. So just as it was difficult for my 9 developers to get visas to leave Nigeria, that's exactly how it's difficult for our money as Nigerians, money you earn for yourself. So if I say our money, just like us, it needs visa, we also need visa. And our money needs visa to go see the world. So if you're an American wanted to pay someone in Australia, you don't think about it. Just as if you as an American wanted to travel to Australia, you don't worry about, do I have the visa? You know the worst case, once you get to the airport, they'll give you the visa on entry. And it's the same for us. A Nigerian wants to send money, his own legitimately earned money, somewhere else in the world. He has to go through 1,000 mental calculations. How am I going to get the dollars? If I get it, who am I going to give it to? And our people are in that way systematically locked out of the global economic system. We cannot be wealthy if we cannot trade. We cannot be wealthy if we cannot commerce. And we can't if the means for us to do it is systematically stifled. But every single one of these things are use cases, interesting use cases to show the utility of Bitcoin. And we have people in the continent now who are actually building those products, who are building those solutions, who are building those use cases. For us, if Bitcoin is going to show itself as technology that works for the world, and Elizabeth said it earlier, it's about utility. Every problem we have in Africa is a utility opportunity for Bitcoin. And so if you're thinking about what you want to build next for the software developers, please don't build another wallet or exchange. Come find the utility problem in Africa. We have shed loads of them that you can actually build interesting, useful solutions for. I'm sorry, Abubakar, I know you. So we want to bring our unique views and insights. I was reading a book on the way to Oslo that I've had for a long time, The Psychology of Money. I don't know if you may have seen Morgan Housel. And the first thing he says is, the first of his rules was that people's decisions around money is usually shaped by their life experiences, the things that they have seen in the world. It may not make sense to you, but it is their own life experiences. We cannot build money for the world that is shaped on the life experiences of only a portion of the world. And so the rest of the world, we Africans are coming into this space. I'm warning those who may not know. We're coming into this space to bring our own views and insights, to show you different dimensions of the world and how the world is using money that we can use to start thinking about how do we improve the Bitcoin network, the technology, and the ecosystem. And the work we do at Btrust Builders is training engineers, software engineers, existing software engineers, and helping quickly ramp them up in this technology so that they can come in this place, work in the different projects. Recently, we concluded a cohort for this year and have 17 engineers who only in February, some of them have been programming for as long as 8 years, 10 years, have never made one contribution to open source. In February, we onboarded every single one of them. We have at least 2 of them that are now actively contributing to Bitcoin Core and many other interesting projects in the Bitcoin space. The intention is that as this group grows, that we're constantly bringing our own perspective to make sure the technology that we're building is resilient and it can work in every single part of the world. Again, we don't want to be passengers. We also want to be drivers on this ship. There are plenty of blind spots in Bitcoin. This is a map of the world at night. And back in the days, they called my continent the dark continent. Well, if you look at the continent compared to every other, it's still a bit dark. Our goal is to bring information of what's happening in that dark continent to Bitcoin, but also use it to help Bitcoin understand where the dark spots are, where the blind spots are in thinking around the technology, so that we can make sure these things are built, so that we don't build the technology and then discover, oh, there's something we're not thinking about that doesn't make it useful and work for other people. That's knowledge we're bringing, that's knowledge we're coming to use to make Bitcoin stronger and more resilient. And we're building a community. This was a picture from Ghana. We're bringing new developers into the Bitcoin space. We're truly decentralizing the Bitcoin developer ecosystem, because the people who are building this technology need to represent the way the world looks and the way the world works. So going forward, our intention is to change the conversation. Yeah, and then telling our stories. Charlene talked about her book. Please, when it comes out, make sure you get it, because you need to be able to see and read and understand our perspectives. But more of those stories are going to be coming out. In the end, our goal is to change the narrative. We don't just want to have conversation about what does Bitcoin do for Africa. We also want to make sure that we can comfortably say what is Africa bringing to Bitcoin, and we'll be able to point to tangible examples. Thank you very much.